morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Charlot, and I'm a ninja slipper thrower. It's a very rare martial arts, but like in all martial arts, you have to be trained carefully. You'll see they're ordinary slippers. Nothing unusual about them. This is the normal way of wearing a slipper, but when you go into fighting mode, this is the way I do it. So my toes are just like there. It's not to be done at home. I've practiced for many years to develop the skills that I have. There's also the backwards throw.
I am a natural born speaker. Always have been, always will be. If it hasn't emerged yet, as you hear this profile, then I am slowing up. I kind of missed a few centuries.
Despite the fact I can't read my own handwriting or do simple arithmetic, I have an extraordinary ability to question and answer some of the more exciting questions of our time.
See my background info if you find yourself gulping in wonder. I know, it is just unheard of, but then you didn't go to St. David's School in New York.
I'm so far left that I think centipedes should have the right to vote.
There was a time in the courts of France that wit was the most highly regarded of arts. I would have done well. Unfortunately, America is terrified of wits and only allows a few to survive, and certainly not on the community level. That's been a great asset for what I do. It makes employers nervous.
The good life is free.
I've written a book, The Fittest Idea, on the nature of the mind. I know that some of the insights that lay within are most important to impart to others.
To mask or not to mask? Here's no question.
My grandfather, on my father's side, was a Mexican highway robber. The only honest work he did was as a bull thrower. It isn't done anymore, but I've retained his genes.
To speak, to sing, perchance to blab?
I've done enough blue-collar work to qualify as a laborer, yet I've produced plays that have influenced my community.
Have you ever wanted despotic power?
As a boy, I swept the stage at Diamond Head Theater.
Little did I know that tidying, not acting as I thought, was my apprenticeship for higher positions.
The other grandfather on Pop's side was the result of an impregnated great-grandmother who returned from Tsar Alexander III's palace with a child and a decent amount of tokens demonstrating the royal family's thanks for being a good wet nurse as well as a secret paramour.
I'm a billionaire in thanks. I prefer it to money.
On Mom's side, well, she was born in a snowstorm in a log cabin in Brigham City, Utah. Zahama went on to attract some of the more famous folks of the 20th century, including my father, Peter Charlot.
Look him up. He did more in a lifetime than most of us do if we had 20 lifetimes.
The nature of the mind and how it works.
I PowerPoint the audience into a universe they have never imagined.
I mean, never.
My father was a professor and I was raised in the academic milieu. I never was comfortable with it for a number of reasons.
Yet, what happens? I spend my life as an educator.
I never doubted my ability as a father.
I alighted on neurophilosophy, and now
Having been the primary parent in raising my daughter, Nicolin,
I'm embarking once again on a quest that is informative,
disturbing,
Humorous,
and capable of truly altering one's self-image.
Always keep your back to an exit.
Playwright for Kumu Kahua.
Actor for Honolulu Theater for Youth.
Volunteer of the Year for Kulani Correctional Facility.
Director for the Hilo Community Players.
Commissioner on Culture and the Arts, Honolulu.
Living history interpreter for Hawaii Volcanoes National Park.
Organizer for Cooper Center, Community Center.
Education Director for the Honolulu Theater for Youth.
Mediator trainer for Honolulu Mediation Center.
Adjunct Professor for the University of Hawaii at Hilo.
Judge, Portuguese Bean Soup Contest for Rotary Club.
Let's stick with naps, meds, and rock and roll.
Aloha kako, and welcome to a tribute to Peter Charlot. I would like to say mahalo to all those voices behind the photo of Peter that opened our celebration tonight. Stephen Smith, Berkeley, California. Jeannie Baroga, San Francisco Bay Area. Daniel Akiyama, Honolulu, Oahu. Dr. Yustena Ola, I'm going to use the full name, Olalimaki Kalawaki Matos in Hilo, Hawaii. And Nick Higginbotham in Newcastle, Australia. We are members of Keakalehua, a play reading hui or group that is gathered weekly to enjoy new works and tried and true works for the theater, reading, musing, discussing each piece over the span of the last 2 years. The wonderful thing is that we hail from across the globe, and time and distance can't seem to deter us from our appreciation of each other's insights. For us, it is a labor of love. We laugh, we puzzle, we get misty-eyed each week that we gather to kind of share the air via Zoom. This is exactly the arrangement we use. And, that might be the only good thing that's come from the pandemic, huh? Zoom. Peter Charlot was a hallowed member of our group. Keakalehua joins with Kumukahua Theater on Oahu in honoring Peter's life and work tonight. It will be a motley celebration, an array of delights taken from Peter's long and illustrious career. You can expect readings, video recordings, and testimonies from those who worked with him, played with him, loved him. I, Jackie Poulani Johnson, met Peter at a drama enclave. This was on Oahu, drama people from all over the state, and there was an esoteric question posed about what artists need. So we broke into little groups, then we reported back, and you heard space to create, meaningful work. And then this kind of scruffy, kind of chubby back then, this guy stood up and he quietly declared that theater artists need medical insurance. I liked him immediately. It was Peter Charlot. Peter was the George to my Martha in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf at UH Hilo. We were directed on stage at UH Hilo by Samoan playwright and protege of Thornton Wilder, John Newble. Peter was very close to John and had spent a great deal of his childhood with John, who is considered by many in the Pacific to be the apex of playwriting, while all other art, this is a quote, groveling down below at the base of the mountain. I was also daughter Regan to Peter's Lear for the Hilo Community Players, Shakespeare in the Park. So memorable. Staged before the East Hawaii Cultural Center, Kalakaua Street was closed to accommodate this monolithic stage. And Peter was there. He actually made himself bald with a little tuft there to show the aged Lear. Keakalehua was exactly where Peter needed to be. In an instant, he was in the fold and really was looked to and appreciated for his insights and wit, an unexpected take on so many plays we read. Peter let us know in October that he was fighting cancer. He passed away on November 7th, 2021, with his wife Darcy and daughter Nicolin at his side. Yeah, he had a quirky, humorous side, but he was deeply serious about his writing, capturing what he knew and felt and questioned and challenged about this, our home, Hawaiʻi. Today marks what would have been Peter's birthday. So, this is our makana to you, dear friend, Peter Charlot. And please welcome Harry Wong of Kumukahua.
Hello, everyone. I didn't know Peter as well. And, but I do have like oddly legendary connections to him. When I was at the University of Hawaii, I was stage manager for a show that was going to tour to Hawaii Island. And the actresses there all kept on talking about Peter. Yeah, nonstop. We flew over and they were like, oh, Peter, Peter, Peter. And then I was like, well, who is this guy? I think I recognize the last name. That's like my religion professor. Was he my religion professor at UH? And then later on, I learned that it was his brother. But then we went to Volcano and he was there. It was pouring rain. We were all drenched as we walked into the theater. And he was standing in the back, I think. And they all ran up to him and they all started talking to him. So they all knew him, And then a few years later, I took a play, another touring play to Hawaii Island, and it was Maui the Demigod. And then this man after the show came up to me and he said, "Oh, it was a good show and everything like that." And then he said, I have to tell you something though. And he started to talk to me about how I could improve the actors' performances in the show, just like nonstop for, I swear it felt like 45 minutes. And I didn't know who he was until I saw him on Zoom, in the play reading group. And then, and I don't really have much to say except that Kumukuhua Theater, it's here to take this foreign artistic form, theater, that was brought here, and make it our own, so we can tell our own stories, the stories of Hawaii through this art form. And I'll be honest with you, it takes people with the character of Peter Charlot to make that mark, to start that fire. And I, when I met him, I was like, this is somebody started the ball rolling. Us taking this art form and making it our own so we can tell our stories. And I'm grateful for that. The theater is grateful for that. And I'm certain that on countless generations, hopefully through this memorial and the way that it's going to be shared, we'll see that. Very much. Aloha to all of you, who are helping with this.
Mahalo, Harry. We really appreciate your sharing your thoughts. And we feel the impact of Peter's contributions every day. So I would like to now, on behalf of all of Keakalehua and Kumukahua, bid our fond welcome to Darcy Bevins, Peter's wife. Aloha, Darcy. In Volcano.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Darcy Bevins, wife of Peter Charlot. And thank you all for attending. And Jackie and team, thank you for putting this all together. I'm certainly enjoying it so far, and I know the rest of it is going to be fantastic. Peter would be so pleased. So let's continue.
All right. So do sit back. We're going to start with a glance at Peter's family. And then we're kind of chronologically going to go through all of his works. And we'll bounce here and there. And as I said, it's a motley array. So our dear, wonderful electronic whiz, Veronica, shall we begin the family PowerPoint? Mahalo, Darcy, for those wonderful family photos. And our aloha to Nicole and too, who I know will enjoy all of this. But you know, when you're doing PhD stuff up on the continent, you're kind of busy, yeah? And here we are in Hawaii, so many hours away. But all of this is being captured for you, Nicolin. I would like to welcome Randall McKendry. He is a retired professor from the community college on the Big Island, but was also an actor for a long time here in Hilo, appearing in Shakespeare in the Park and many other productions. Became a director not very long ago for our town in Hilo. And Randall is going to give us a piece that I call Peter in his own words. It's from Bamboo Ridge, and literally Peter wrote this introduction.
Aloha to us all. I would like to start by saying that Peter is the first human being that I met on Zoom and then met in 3D. It was quite an experience. And whenever I think of Peter now, I think of the dimensions. And not to go too far with this, but we write in 2 dimensions, flat words on flat paper usually, or flat screen perhaps, coming from a deep place. I don't know how many dimensions are inside the human being when you're creating something. But Zoom, for all its wonderful qualities, is to me a 2-dimensional tool. And so when I met Peter at Henry Bianchini's house with Elizabeth there as well, I got to see him after maybe 6 months of flatness in his 3D glory. And I was surprised because it's such a wonderful, incisive, funny mind that there was a kind of warm shyness to Peter when I met him as a human being in 3 dimensions. And he said that he had not been out since the pandemic. This was his first foray to have lunch at Henry's place. And it was very jolly, very fun, very warm, not very shy. Here's a piece that he wrote for Bamboo Ridge, and it's so Peter. It took me like 11 times to read this thing to myself. See what you think of it. What can you do with the fact that Shakespeare used the conjunction and a total of 26,285 times in all of his works? Answer: just about as much as you can do with the fact that he had a brother named Richard. How long anyone can dwell on the obscure? Not for long, unless you happen to be obscure yourself, which I am. I am the obscure relative of a famous person. And so I seek reassurance wherever I can. If somewhere there is an organization such as Relatives of Famous People Liberation, I'll join. We'll sit in little circles and sympathize with the realities that so few others can relate to. My father, Jean Charlot, was an artist. He was warm, wise, disciplined, scholarly, witty, and compassionate. He deserved the honor he received. And even though my brain knows his honors had nothing to do with me, it was hard to resist basking a little, especially when I was in the middle of a homage frenzy. I think those workers who move gold from one vault to another, 6 stories below Manhattan's World Bank, must feel a similar paradox. They are where they want to be, but something's not quite right. It's no wonder that relatives of VIPs suffer from various social and physical ills. One of the most common is what I suffer from. Being his son, I was privy to climbing about Papa as lion cubs cuff their father's snout. So I would. There is the story of the Hawaiian prince who was born and raised far from his chiefly father's home. When the time came for them to meet, the full-grown son broke all the kapus, thumped up to his dad, and sat on his lap. But having been so close to where most people are trying to go, leaves me somewhat difficult to get along with. I kind of expect to be able to jump into everyone's lap. And when I find myself in hierarchies, well, how come I'm not on top? People don't garner a lot of pity for this condition. What we know about Richard is that he was 10 years younger than his brother and died 3 years before in 1613. The rest is conjecture based on other facts. This play takes place in 1608 on a bright summer day. Richard is entertaining his brother and niece, Susanna, and her husband, Dr. John Hall. Richard lives with his woman, Hazel, deep in the woods of Avon. This excerpt opens just before they eat lunch. The next scene finds Richard's landlord and boss punishing offenders of the forest's most grievous crime, poaching from poachers. After this, the excerpt returns to the family, which has finished eating and who are more or less ready to play the full tale of Rinaldo. In a way, artists are the relatives of society allowed to sit in its lap, bump around on its most vital parts, puff its nose, and then snuggle up to sleep. Being a relative of an artist is like being a relative within a relative, or a play within a play. Thank you.
Wonderful, Randall. And thank you, Daniel Akiyama, for finding that gem. Don't we hear Peter's voice? Yeah, completely. And his musings, yeah? Now we have the truth. Harry Wong just spoke it. And not too long ago, our beloved Victoria Nalani Nubel, Hawaii's hallowed playwright, also said the same thing, is that Peter was one of the first to get playwriting happening in Hawaii, to write about us. So the next three pieces we're going to share with you are from what we consider Peter's early works from the 1970s and 80s. It just so happens that he had three different works with "o'o" in the title. But the first excerpt, which is taken from a production at UH Hilo, is "O'o Hawaii." Then we'll segue to "When I Was Your Age." And our wonderful member, Dini, is going to guide us through that. And we'll end this scenes from the early work with "Land and Other Living Things," which was very tender for Peter because he loved working with Tremaine Tomoyoshi, the actor in that piece. So without further ado, we are going to take a look at "O'o Hawaii, Mahalo Nei."
You told me everything.
Yes.
Hey! Family! Relatives! You must feel them, man. They're all around us watching and listening. Ears pressed to the walls. Eyes looking up from the cracks. You can feel them, Mama. Huh? What is this place? Hey, the UK people, come out, man. We go back with you. Take us back with you. All right. When these guys come, we go up with them, back up to the hills, man. Get back to our roots. We the ones in charge. We're not the women. It's us, you and me, men. So we're supposed to be. All right, I'm not gonna let Ma sell that land, you know that? You hear that, Ma? Too long you ladies been leading us by the nose. We got other things we can do, all right. Other alternatives like, get talk, figure things out. Enough of this conniving women already. Enough of this feminist crap. Let's go. Get things back to the way they're supposed to be when men run things, right? What you say?
Just put the rifle down, Louis.
Yeah, serious, bro. You gotta think, you end up thinking like one holy, man. You gotta stop these guys already. It's too late for our mothers already. It's too late for them.
You flipped out or what?
Yeah, I'm not crazy, Elroy.
Stop it right now, both of you.
What, Charlie? Future auntie of America.
That's enough. Do some class. What you trying to prove?
Hey, maybe I'm just applying for one job, man. Maybe your father let me show these Japanese guys off for shoot.
Yeah, maybe you will.
They don't jack me around college Hawaiian.
Louis, please.
You stay right where you are. You know what I mean, Shirley? Better I know nothing. Nothing in all that crap you've been learning in the white man's breeding ground.
No, let's calm down.
Yeah, I don't like to settle down, anti-fight.
Hey, watch it.
Come on, Elroy. Let's go, man. Take a read up on the world and you talk about the future.
Hey, bro, I still warning you. Just stay away, Louis.
Okay? Give you guys a chance? You guys go eat your pies and your stroganoff. Me and my partner and the kids. We're gonna hang out here with some good buds.
No, Louis, that's enough, Louis. This is a dangerous place and I told you to listen
You
to me.
untraitor, Ma! You sold the land for what?
Oh, Louis.
Hey, no worry, you guys hungry. We get plenty hamburger helper. But I tell you something, family. You're not gonna hold us down forever. We gonna rise up again. We gonna take our land back again.
That's enough.
For you. Hey, where are you coming from?
What are you doing? Let go.
I told you to keep quiet.
She's calling him. What are you doing?
Liz, what's going on?
It's coming from the cave.
Right on.
Louis, come back. Careful, Ed.
Something. Someone down there.
Yeah, careful. Louis. Auntie, what is this?
Hey, one light. Someone's in the shadow, all right? Wow.
Louis.
Look at that.
Louis, repent, Louis. Repent before it's too late. Repent, son. Auntie, what is this? I forgive you. My son will occur. Oh, this heat. Here, I gotta lie down. No, you sit down right over here, okay? Sit down. Charlie,
I swore I saw something.
It was inside here. It was right inside here.
Oh, I bring my umbrella.
Hey.
Lindy, forgive me, Lindy.
Get it yourself.
Auntie, what's the matter? Seriously, Ma, you're getting clowny. I don't feel well at all. Hey, seriously, all right, get the umbrella, come on. Forgive me, Lindy. Oh, forgive me, little Lindy. Auntie, what? All right. Get the umbrella.
Mom, please, let go of her. You're hurting her. Oh, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on
Must have been a mongoose.
Fucking big mongoose, huh?
Forgive me, Lindy.
please.
All right.
Okay, okay.
You wouldn't call this one, huh? Right on.
Oh, I think we're going to need more stroganoff. Auntie, what should we do? Yeah, tell us what we should do. Yes, what should we do?
We'll do what you want.
Oh, Charlie and Jennifer, sandwiches. I think there are more coming. Soda. I wonder if these people drink soda pop. Probably not, yeah. They probably don't sit on chairs either. Do we have any mats? Juice. Do we have juice? Mats. We got mats. Perfect. Go get those. Lay's. Ed, do we have anything for Lay's? We didn't know.
Jennifer, you all right?
Yeah, let's help your mom. God, this is damn exciting.
Yeah, you're damn right it is.
Hello, did you pack any pillows?
Look at that man. Just look at him.
We can all get under the same awning. No.
Hello. Aloha.
Aloha kako. I'm Dini Tagadine Cam, and I'm here to share about Peter. I met him in the 80s when my theater journey was just starting, and I was fortunate that I got to know him as a teacher. I got to know Peter the actor, and I got to know Peter the director. I took that playwriting class that he had, and he taught it with such a honesty. And so it came full circle when I started getting involved with Keakulehua. I remember the comment that he made was, you know, this is just a prolonged joke here, and I just can't wait for you to get to the punchline. The rest is just words. If you're going to say something for goodness sakes. And I was like, okay, this is playwriting. But yes, I got to know him as a teacher. I got to know Peter, the actor, and it was amazing working with him and Uncle John and Jackie in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Watching him take stage direction and transforming into George was an experience. And as Peter, the director, I finally got to know him when he cast me in O'o Hawaii. And he had all kinds of great notes for us and shared a lot of his mana'o about Hawaii and the plight of the Hawaiian people and where he stood. Fast forward, I was so grateful when we were connected with Keakulehua. So during the hui, and we had started emailing back and forth, we did some reminiscing, and he reinforced his passion for writing to effectively communicate his messages, as we know Peter had so many. And the other thing that I was reminded of was how much he cared about Hawaii, local people in general, because really he was one local boy himself. He came here when he was a little kid, and that he cared so deeply about the plight of the Hawaiian people and its culture. And he shared a lot of heartfelt mana'o regarding that. And in that, I realized that he was more Hawaiian in his heart and soul than some of the Hawaiian-blooded people that I know. Yeah. So anyway, as we go on, we had just started discussing his foray into neurophilosophy, and he just sort of just threw it out there. And I kind of nerded out. I was like, wow, that's really cool and blood. And he said, well, I wrote a book and we're doing this through email, and I can hear his voice. And I thought, oh, that's really great. And before I could even say, I want to read this thing, so humble of Peter and so comical of Peter, he wrote, well, I'll explain it to you all in the next paragraph, quote, in case you don't want to read the book because it's really long and gets really thick. I mean, leave it to Peter to be so grateful for my, ability and my, energy to get through that whole book. I have it and I'm reading it, and y'all should try it on for size. I think he'd enjoy if you read it too. But back to Peter's earlier work, Sean, Joseph Chu, and I were requested to select a portion of Peter's play when I was your age, which he presented back in schools in the 70s. Mind you, this was in totally separate efforts, Sean and I. So what you'll see here is kind of where we met in the middle, where we intersected. It was funny because when Jackie informed us, she said, it must have been meant to be. And so in this play, you'll see one of his recurrent themes of the cyclical nature of people and their action or their inaction, their attempts to fix things, generations of unresolved family conflicts. You'll see a little bit of that here, but you'll also see Peter's fun, spot-on characterizations of local people, specifically high school kind kids in a day in the life of kind of setting. One, local fast times at Richmond High, if you will. Peter Wainwright planning plays using a kind pidgin English. He pointed out not only was it verbal, but heavily gestural and very body conscious. And I think that Peter would have loved Sean's portrayal of his characters right here. And that's why this is what you'll see. So here's Sean Joseph Chu giving us a little taste of When I Was Your Age by Peter Charlot.
Hey, Milton, what's the matter? You cannot take it. When I was your age, I could take a lot more than you. You hear me, Milton? You think you can mess up my house every time you want to fight? I'm the one that's got to clean up, I'm the one, not you, me. You think I like cleaning for my health? You hear me? Harold, you hear me? If you want to go throw Milton around, go outside. You understand? I'm not going to do it. I refuse. Milton,
help
get
your
in
mom.
here and clean up this
You
mess.
cannot take it.
Harold,
When I was
don't
your
turn on
age, I
the
could
TV.
take a lot
Is that
more
all
than
you can
that.
do? Turn on
That
the
was
TV.
nothing.
Don't help your mother. I just finished wiping there. You left your cigarette burning. You like burn the house down. Milton, You're going to be get in sorry here. if I have Milton, to come help in there. me. You help me. Milton. You hear your father? Milton. You like another leaky? Where you stay? You better not Milton. go out either. Hey. I know what you're thinking. Milton, help your mother. How's it, Milton? The old man did it again. He would shove the cigarettes right in my face. Light it too. Of course light it. Our fathers work construction. No fuss around. He throw around the cement all day. And then after that, he throw me around. Ooh. You know the living room wall? They get the 2 pictures. The one with the 2 dogs. That's the one, man. He hit me against the wall. The 2 pictures fall and hit me on the head. Huh. For real. That's nothing. My mother's the one to watch out for. My old lady. She's always gaffing my old man. Nobody's asking about your mother. Oh, she stink like you. She play cards like you. Gibson, look. Howley Gibson over there.
Ring, ring.
Class, please sit down. Class, look up front. Yeah. Randall, face front. Claire, do you hear me? Yes, we are going to do just that. Shakespeare. You know that very well. Yeah, let's borrow a pen. Be quiet now. What you fucking what? What? You like go? What? What? Let's fight. Man. Let's fight. Let's go, huh? Ha. I'll get you, bro. Richard, get you. Albert, sit down. That, bro. Better watch it. And Cheddar, John, Borges, Amy, Cadiz, Albert, here. Carvalho, William, Fujii, William, Gabriel, Douglas.
Bro, I'm gonna do roll call.
I don't know who's not here. Quiet, please. Gibson, yes. James. Here, Mrs. Hebling. Come on. Oh. Milton, Albert, Richard, stop playing around. Pay attention. Richard, sit up. Gonzalez, Ben. Iwasaki, Brenda. James, Milton. Here. Kaneshiro, Josephine. Kaneshiro, Edward. Lum, Harvey. Moniz, Sylvia. Okay. I want to get started reading right away. Everybody has read a part, and some of you a number of roles. Josephine, do your face out of class. Yeah, Josephine. Open to page 298. Josephine, don't you understand English? She don't understand English, but she understand this. Stop the noise. Just bring out the book quietly. Sit silently. I don't see how you make so much noise turning pages. All right, now, remember what has happened so far. Anybody want to summarize? James. Howley, sit down. Banana, please sit down. We are right up to where Julius Caesar is going to be killed by Brutus and Cassius. Caesar has been warned to not go to the Senate, but has anyway. Thanks, James, baby. Woo-hoo! For that, Albert, you may have the part of Metellus. Metellus Hōkū strikes again. For you, Milton, Brutus. James, will you play Caesar? Andrew? Fine. There are no girls, just here. Ben played Decius, Ronald plays Cinna, Harvey, you play Casca. All right now. All those with the part, stand up, read slowly, distinctly, and with feeling. Metellus. Albert, you may start. Is there no voice more worthy than my own to sound more sweetly in great Caesar's ear for the repealing of my banished brother? I kiss thy hand, but not in flattery, Caesar, desiring thee that Publius Simba may have an immediate freedom of repeal. What, Brutus? I could be well moved if I were as you, if I could pray to move. Prayers would move me, but I am as constant as the northern star, of whose true fixed and resting quality there is no fellow in the firmament. Ugh. The skies are painted with unnumbered sparks. They are all fire, and every one doth shine. So in the world 'tis furnished well with men, and men are flesh. Stop a moment. James, where did Milton go? Did Milton say where he was going? No.
Hey man, what happens to the rally tomorrow?
What?
What? Oh, just yesterday, man. Ikana Valley, man. I told you, man, they were doing all right for a while, man, but things are bad for them now.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why they're having the rally, man. They're trying to get some public interest, right? Look, man, talk about politics. I told you, man. Those guys, they asked me personally, right? They said, guarantee you gonna get some good rides, right? Okay, it was a long time since I did my protest materials. How come you like me go over there?
Hey, look, we need a break. We've been going heavy for weeks.
I don't believe you're so kind to Auntie, huh? You take such good care of Auntie, huh? Oh.
Listen, it's politics.
I thought so.
Ujikin Corporation, they're the people who want to develop
So?
Ikanaga. So, Ujikin is an arm of Rexall.
Oh, how nice. Well, that explains everything.
You ready? Here's Rexall Corporation, right? Now, they own Ujikin Corporation, right? And they also, you ready for this? They own Zeltok as well. See?
What? Hey, wait, what? It's a week? You telling me that Rexall owns Ujikin, right? Ujikin, right?
Right.
And Ujikin owns Ikana Valley, huh?
Yeah, right.
Hey, wait a minute, man. Rexall also owns Zeltok, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Zeltok owns Spa.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me we're working for the same people that want to develop Ikana Valley? Hey, how come you never tell me that, bro?
Hey, it wouldn't be a vacation.
You're lying. You know that.
Hey, let's deal with it later, okay? Look, we only got 20 minutes.
Hey, that's the whole point, man. I'm the one that goes on, you know? Me? You know me, man? Huh? I'm the one, right? You're pissing me off, okay? Is that the whole story?
No, it's not the whole story. A Zeltok representative phoned me.
Wait, okay, you never told me that, man.
They're very polite, they're very professional. Look, they said that they understood you were going to sing for the rally tomorrow, and that therefore maybe we would rather hold off on our contract negotiations till everything was cleared up about the valley.
Oh, how thoughtful of them.
Right.
How thoughtful of you, man. Well, I'm pissed. I'm really pissed, man. What the hell are you trying? You know you're not supposed to control me, right?
Man, I'm not controlling you.
Man, what the hell are you calling me?
I didn't even think about it.
Oh, you didn't really think about it?
All right, it was a mistake. Okay.
What? A mistake? What, are you taking lessons from Nixon or what? Hey, man, you gotta start getting a little bit more work up, brah. Okay? And wipe that Mr. Little Stock face off your skull.
Listen, I gotta do it this way, because of you! Golden Boy, Blaine Calava, yeah! When you're not coked out, drunk, and a stone, you pretend like you're Hawaii's answer to Pete Seeger. I mean, it's just like you to wake up from your private indolence and just botch up a deal we've been working on for 2 years!
Okay.
Where you going?
Home.
No way, you know my agreement.
Yeah, well, I know the rules, Eric. No lying, you know, no manipulating.
No walking out.
Yeah, I'm not the one that lied.
Yeah, what's so I'm listening?
Hey, look, man. Every time you lie to me, man. Every time, I don't like it. I'm not ignorant, you know. I can listen to reason, man. Okay, this is the biggest lie yet, man. We're not gonna let these stupid punks push us around, and you weren't even gonna tell me.
We're just doing business.
No way. Can't guarantee. I said I'm gonna sing tomorrow.
Hey, it was done with me. Don't scare me. Don't fly off the handle. Come on, let's talk about it now. This Zeltog deal, it's a lot of money. We're going on a major mainland tour. This is our biggest break yet. You know that.
You, my good pal Eric, right?
Right.
Sixth grade, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna tell you something, man. Deep down inside, you are a howling.
Hey, get my hey, Blaine. Come on now, listen, I shoot up, okay? But don't pay me back by cutting off throats.
Okay, you know what the big lie is, man? Hey, white men ain't white, they're pink. Okay? Oh, yeah. See this? This is white, yeah? You're pink.
Blaine.
You lied to me, okay? And now what, you want me to lie like you, man? It's not my way, okay? I'm not gonna polish no pink man shit.
And you just stop with the racial, man. I don't like you calling me Holly.
Holly.
Listen, I screwed up, and not because I'm Holly. Listen, I don't have to like the way I do business, okay? But don't wipe me out because I'm white. You don't have to like my ideas, my ethics, my English, my clothes, my hair, my jokes.
Fine. Erase Holly, insert all of the above, okay?
Aloha. My name is Susie Bond. I'm the executive director of the Kilauea Drama and Entertainment Network. Peter and I were lifelong friends. I can't remember a part of my life when Peter was not there. My grandparents and his parents were friends. And when I was young, I would see him at various family gatherings. The first show I worked with Peter was when I worked my first HTY show, which was The Miracle Worker. He was the captain, Helen's father, and I was on the prop crew. During the show, the crew had mere seconds to clean up the mess from the breakfast scene in the dark. And Peter would be in the wings whispering the locations of the large parts of eggs and plates so that we could find them. Fast forward a few years, and we were company members in Commedia dell'arte in Honolulu with George Herman. And You Can't Take It With You, he was Mr. Kalenkoff, and I was the maid. He got so carried away one night that he dropped me and broke my finger. I never let him live that one down. In the 80s, we worked together on the Hilo Community Players Shakespeare in the Park's 12th night. He directed, I stage managed. We built a stage off the stairs of the Cultural Center and painted it to match the stonework. And we used the balcony as well, a first. There were many nights of laughter. There was always laughter when Peter was involved. That same year, we worked on a presentation for the USGS. Vision of a Scientific Missionary was a show that Peter had written, and we used it to celebrate the Jagger Museum's Diamond Jubilee. It was performed at Kilauea Military Camp's Kilauea Theater and was the beginning of a very special relationship Peter and I would have with Volcano Art Center, KMC, and the Hawaii Volcano National Park. In subsequent years, Peter was responsible for getting the front lighting pipes installed in the theater, which made it a much more usable space. In 2002, I was leaving the Art Center and was being pressed by the volcano community to keep the summer musical alive. I ran into Peter at a fair in Kea'au. I told him what was happening and asked him to help me figure out how to get this company started. We approached 3 other people who all happened to be at the same fair at the same time, Bill Chikasui, Tom McAlexander, and Karen Blue, and decided we would meet a week later at what was Deleuze's coffee shop in Mountain View. On that day, Kilauea Drama and Entertainment Network was born. Kaden, as we are known. Kaden's name came about because Peter and I thought there should have been a station with the call letters KDEN. Kaden Radio. It took a while to put the words to the acronym. Kilauea was obvious. Drama was obvious. We tried education, but that would mean a set of standards we weren't sure we wanted to take on. And in the end, we figured we could be an entertainment network and maybe one day add that radio station. So get ready for Kaden Radio. Peter was Kaden's founding president. Under his guidance, we developed our goals, mission statement, and bylaws. There was lots of laughter and good food to help the process along, plus a big thesaurus. To this day, all K-10 board meetings are held around a dinner table and involve food and laughter. It was also at this point that Peter and I started talking about how to develop a living history program fashioned after the one our dear friend Lee Stetson was doing at Yosemite based on the life of John Muir. Dr. Jagger was the obvious choice as we had done Vision of a Scientific Missionary years before this. As it would happen in 2004, a granting opportunity came up at the national park. Peter submitted a proposal to Laura Schuster, and in 2005, K-10's Living History program was first performed in the Whitney Vault, the site of the original seismometer on Kilauea Summit. Peter last worked on the Living History program in 2010. When K-10 was approached to revive the program in 2013, Peter was instrumental in getting it going again. The program lives on today with Dick Hirschberger as Jagger. This was a testament to Peter's vision. As a side note, in 2005, I also started working for the Volcano School as a volunteer, teaching theater arts to the middle school. In my first year of classes, one of my students was Peter's daughter, Nicolin. I last talked to Peter about 2 years ago. Even though we'd not seen each other in a few years, we talked and laughed like it was yesterday. I am saddened to know that I will not get to laugh with him again. And I will always be grateful for him for helping get K-10 up and running. Aloha oi, Peter. Ahuiho. Thank you.
Mahalo nui, Susie. Strong bond. We are going to move. Hey, that's a pun.
Yeah, I know.
Bond is her last name. Hey, how articulate and brainy we are with this group, huh? That would have been a witticism from Peter, so done. Okay, we went to Peter's middle career, and that's 1995. This was his play called Wednesday, one rad story of the first fish pond, but the mokwin grind the storyteller. So our Hui read it, even though it's a rad story. And so we're going to share the Hui's reading now. Take it away, Veronica.
Peter, can you say the title for us one more time?
Sure, but this time the right way, yeah. Could have been the story of the first Molokai fish pond, but the mokefish eat the storyteller twice.
Great. Beneath the air, we belong to the sea. We float free amidst the vast array of nature's bounty. For here, along the black edge of the Hawaiian island of Molokai, are numerous ancient fish ponds. These ocean corrals allowed the villagers to raise fish, much like we raise cattle today. This story is the story about how the first Molokai fish pond came to be long ago.
As the storyteller speaks, various types of fish enter. By the end of the introduction, the whole cast is cruising about. Note, the storyteller has some trouble staying in the view of the audience.
There once was a young boy who lived with his grandfather on a secluded coast of Molokai Island. His grandfather was an old man who raised the child after the parents went to Las Vegas and never returned home. As the boy grew older, his kupuna kane grew weaker and his eyes blurry. The elderly fellow could not catch enough fish, even for their humble needs.
The schools are conservatively dressed, polite, and dweebish. They swim in perfect unison with their teacher, guiding them.
Early one morning, the young boy sat on a black cliff, looking down into the glistening froth of the shallow tide pools. How beautiful they were.
The Mohawks are dressed in grays. Their hair are studies in ornate chaos. They swim in swaggering unison.
With swirling eddies passing through glistening and colorful coral heads, sparkling in the early morning brilliance.
Without warning, a moke circles the storyteller. The moke is most intimidating.
Please, young Moki, out of my way. I am trying to tell this story.
Oh, sorry, Bob. Huh? You ever think maybe we don't hear your stupid story? You ever think about that? 'cause I tell you, I no like hear one dumb legend. The only thing I like from you is dinner.
Junior, no bother the poor storyteller. He never bother you.
Hey, Reginald, no bother Junior. None of your business.
Yeah, nobody asked you, Reginald.
Junior eats the storyteller.
Oh,
The storyteller exits into Junior's jaws.
Gee, now look what you did. You want to eat the storyteller. You know, Junior. You're one endangered species.
Reginald's mother grabs him by the gill.
What? You never hear me.
But Ma, he ain't the storyteller.
You never hear me. I tell you come, I mean come.
Nah, but you never say come.
No argue with me, boy.
She slaps Reginald once across his snout.
Oh.
Every time you talk back to me.
Whack.
Every time you think you wise.
Punch.
Ooh.
Every time you big mouth.
Slap.
Every time you think you wise.
You already say that one.
Yeah. Which one come next?
Act up.
Oh yeah, thanks. Every time you act up.
She slaps him on the snout when the counselor fish interrupts.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm a counselor.
Good for you.
Do you not know that verbally and physically abusing your child can injure him permanently for life, both physically and mentally?
So?
Because he will suffer and become like you, the same way you became like your mother.
That's the point. Tradition. What other reason is there for I go for do this? It is my culture. You think it easy for lick him day and night?
Leaning into the counselor's snout.
My whole day piece off. You think I don't want to be hanging out watching UFC instead? You folks don't realize how difficult it is to be one abuser. What about us? What about our feelings?
I never thought about it like that.
Of course not, you do-gooders. So busy sticking your snouts into other people's lives. You don't think, abusers got rights too?
Mother grabs the counselor by his gill and drags her off.
Think about it. All day long, I go think how to torture that brat, shame him, starve him. How else is he going to learn to stay humble?
Amana breaks away from her school and goes to help Reginald.
Reginald, are you okay? Your mom is so mean.
Yeah. Thanks, Amana. But Ma, she do the best she know.
They touch Finn's ever so tenderly.
I love you, Reginald.
Come here, Hamana. Get away from him.
I love you, Amana.
Now.
Oh.
Okay, you
Bye.
know better. Okay, you know better.
Bye.
The Mokes pull Reginald roughly from Hamana, leaving her to sob heavily. Her friends circle her, attempting to console.
No, Hamana, do not cry for what can never be.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Karen Yamamoto Hackler, and I want to inform you that at the start of this tribute, a huge rainbow appeared over Manoa Valley, and then it slowly faded, and it has reappeared. So nature is here at Peter's tribute, and that's very fitting. Peter and I worked together in the 70s, so I want to talk a little bit about that time. So the mid-70s found Peter serving as a community arts coordinator when the Hawaii State Foundation of Culture and the Arts received money through the State Comprehensive Employment Training Program to hire the unemployed and underemployed. We artists could be hired since we fit the profile of being both underemployed and unemployed. Peter and I were 2 of the 4 community arts coordinators on Oahu. The program was statewide. Peter and I were both theater artists. As a community arts coordinator, Peter helped Ray Okimoto, head of the Artists in the Schools program, by contacting Department of Education school principals in his assigned school district to offer their schools performing arts experiences. Storytellers, puppeteers, musicians, and touring plays funded by the Artists in the Schools program enriched the lives of many students. Peter also offered the schools workshops with our program's team of ethnic dancers in Hawaiian, Samoan, Tongan, and Filipino dance. In addition, Peter offered school workshops in his art specialty. So Peter was a combination administrator and arts educator during this period. When Peter moved to the Big Island, he served the volcano community by writing a column in community newsletters. We found his Volcano Vibrations column from 2020 in the Cooper Center's newsletter called Volcano Community News, and cuttings from his column that year were offered in the opening section tonight. Peter's Volcano Vibrations column appeared even 2 decades earlier in the Volcano Village Voice. Here's a sampling of his endearing Volcano Vibrations column entries from 1999 to 2000. The readers are Daniel Akiyama, Nick Higginbotham, and Karen Yamamoto Hackler.
June 24th, 1999. Cultivating humans. Recently, the Planning Commission denied an agricultural land use waiver for a health gym. Many of us exercisers want a place that is weatherproof and friendly. But no! Actually, was a waiver necessary? Surely such a center is a kind of greenhouse. We're all species here. We come from the earth, require water, sun, and appropriate nutrition. The only difference is plants don't wear silly little shorts. Speaking of which, Mitch's trousers. They were lost off the car roof. Don't ask. Betsy Mitchell would like her husband's pants back. Shortening. They're in a blue plastic bag somewhere between EEV Road and Lexington Avenue. Aha! Now we know the reason he's always used that walking stick. Maybe just trying to keep from tripping on his cuffs. Threat to our morals. Carl Thornburg, departing USGS geologist, received a great farewell party at the KMC Lounge. Highlight of the evening was a G-rated strip tease performed with the gear that the scientists wear out on the lava flow. The erotic potential of gas masks, yellow hard hats, and heat-resistant gloves has never, to anyone's knowledge, been explored before.
January 2000. Light moment. Thinking that the light that illuminates my island bed and breakfast sign was a little too bright, Key Morse decided to put in a demure blue light. A week later, it was stolen. They put in another. It too was purloined. They put in another. This time, the bulb was broken. Then they got word through the grapevine. The blue light looks like a police car waiting in the bushes. Christmas blues. Speaking of blue, a friend who lost house, mate, and business over the last year found himself wondering how to endure Christmas morning. His answer was to get up and head out to Pueo Bay for surfing. Usually overcrowded, he was alone for 2 hours with the choicest waves. Alone, homeless, broke, and blessed.
February 2000, Volcano Portrait. The Hawaiian Handbook by Moon Publishing refers to Volcano Village as, quote, the most picturesque place in all of America. Is this true? I've been getting requests from people asking me to describe life here. They are considering settling. I give it to them straight, explaining such things as cloistered nuns have more social life. And I mentioned that because of the rain, we're the only tourist destination that caters to vacationing dolphins. I downplay the eruptions and earthquakes and try to emphasize the positive, like we have a post office, things like that. But I'm curious as to how you would summarize village life. Send me a paragraph or two. I'm not sure what I'll do with these, but I'll report back. March 2000. Welcoming thorns. Last month, I asked what I should tell potential settlers. On the welcoming side, I received, quote, volcano residents spend more time hugging than any other community in the United States. Countering this was, quote, we have, for weeks at a time, a thick, choking, sulfurous bog that blankets the village. Sometimes it rains for months. Lots of spiders and slugs. Also dogs that run loose in the black night. And worse yet, strange people who like it that way. Now, I want you all to know that in an effort to speak the community's mind when I receive inquiries, I will attempt to reconcile these divergent perspectives. How about we hug a lot because we need help brushing the spiders off our backs?
Kid pickup sports. The winner is who can arrive the latest at Mountain View Elementary and get out the earliest. Takes real strategy. The best spots are taken early. Arrive late and you wait forever to exit. Yet there's one true champion. Mr. X arrives just before the bell rings and backs around the circle, placing himself in front of the first car and thus claiming the finest position. Now this is Major League playing.
Weird blue stain. I thought it was my shampoo somehow leaking in my shower stall. Yet every now and then my clothes come out of the washer, stained the same blue. The volcano blue stain expert informs me that this volcano mystery has been attributed to the acidic reaction of gutter leaves. But how can this be? My gutters are immaculate.
Personals. EC to secret admirer. I received the note you placed on my windshield. You jumpstart my heart. Who are you? Let's meet. On to Victoria.
Aloha kako. Aloha kako. I'm Victoria Nalani Newell here. I'm going to introduce Peter's play, The Vision of a Scientific Missionary, in a few minutes, but I just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about Peter and, you know, how I met him, and I think the influence he had on myself and other playwrights of my generation. You know, I first met him, he kind of drifted in and out and through my life for a few decades, but I think I first met him when he was living behind my Uncle John's house out at Waimea Bay. They were both living there at the same time. And then I remember, one of the things I really remember was seeing Peter's, it must have been the first production of O'o Hawaii. It was at the Leeward Community College Theater. It was pretty incredible. And then I had, at one point in my life, the privilege to be in O'o Hawaii that Kumu Kahua produced at St. Andrews, the theater that they have there. And I got to know Peter a little better. And so when I moved here to the island of Hawaii, it was really great to have him in our playwriting group because, you know, we had this connection with my uncle and, you know, our families throughout our life. So that was wonderful. But I think the thing that I'm really the most grateful about for having Peter in all of our lives is that, you know, he was one of the first people in our generation who started writing for the theater, who started writing plays about Hawaii. And at that time, I know from my own experience that it wasn't the thing to do. You know, if you wanted to be a playwright, you had to kind of mirror what was happening in New York or, you know, some other city where, you know, theater was Western and about, you know, other subjects. So to have somebody from our generation brave enough and interested enough to be writing about the place that he came from was really something special. And that inspired a whole, you know, bunch of other people to start writing about Hawaii too. So I think that in that way, he's super important in the history of playwriting in our state. So I had the wonderful experience of reading his play, The Vision of a Scientific Missionary, that Jackie sent me. And one of the things that struck me was that it encompasses so many things that he was really good at, research, writing, and of course, acting, because he performed the full-length play that he wrote himself about Thomas A. Jagger, who I think I can see Peter being kind of fascinated with this guy because he kind of reflects, you know, one of these people who created island history, who was complex and brilliant and pretty eccentric too. And I know that this started out as a full-length play and then he shortened it, and I'm sure he delighted so many visitors who came to the park to see him perform it. And tonight, we're fortunate to have the person he passed the torch to, Dick Hirschberger, who's going to read some excerpts from Peter's wonderful play that I hope someday we should read it in our hui. The name of the play is The Vision of a Scientific Missionary. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. Mahalo.
Aloha, Dick. You're welcome to join us now as Thomas Jagger.
I'm here.
Great.
I'm here.
Excerpted
Thank you.
from a larger work, I'm sure. And I got to watch the performance, and it was so moving and also delightful to be in situ, in the actual lab that's kind of plugged onto the volcano house, right next to the crater. So without
Actually, the volcano house was plugged on to the vault.
You are so correct, aren't you? I agree. Well, you go for it.
When the evening papers of May 8, 1902 announced the sudden annihilation of 26,000 people that morning at 8 o'clock at Saint Pierre, Martinique, I went immediately to President Elliott. Knowing that I had been urging field study of volcanoes, he agreed that I ought to go to Saint Pierre and wired Secretary of the Navy William H. Moody to arrange for transportation. The voyage to the West Indies was unique. On the Navy cruiser Dixie were stores of food, tents, clothing, and medical supplies for the refugees, and an oddly assorted passenger list, newspapermen, scientists, and a cadet crew of bluecoats shared lectures, ping pong, and chores under the command of their stalwart Virginian Captain Robert Berry. When we arrived at Fort-au-Prince, 13 days after the terrific disaster, we were transported at once to Saint Pierre on the naval tug Potomac. We landed and walked through the ruined city streets, puddled with molasses and rum. Thousands of dead were buried underfoot amid the rubble. Roofs were gone, and occasional timber was burning, and bodies were still numerous in the shelter of houses. We saw a baby in an iron cradle, a man face down in a tank, and a big man on his back in a deep baker's oven. His flesh was shriveled and drawn away from his joints by heat. The odor was a haunting one that returned in dreams of foundry and steam and sulfur matches and burnt stuff, and every now and then a whiff of roast decayed flesh that was horrible. It was impossible to realize that their Pompeii had been a thriving French town 2 weeks before. It was hard to distinguish where the streets had been and where the buildings ended. The story of Rita Stokes made a tremendous impression on me. In Barbados Hospital, I talked with this young white girl and her colored nurse, Clara King, who had been passengers on the SS Roraima, who had been at St. Pierre when the city was destroyed. Of the family, only they survived, and when I saw them, they were swathed in bandages. Both were somewhat injured for life. When the morning of May 8th dawned, bright and sunshiny, there was nothing in the appearance of the volcano to excite apprehension, except the immense column of vapor rising from the main crater. This was going to be an unusual height, but it was not particularly dark in color, and a gentle wind from the east carried most of the ashes in the direction of Pressure, so that the atmosphere south of the mountain was comparatively clear. They were reassured by the ship's officers. The day before the eruption, the local newspaper, La Colonie, deprecated the growing panic, declared that the alarm was not justified. On the very eve of the catastrophe, the newspaper stated, "Mount Pelée is no more to be feared by Saint Pierre than Vesuvius is feared by Naples." We confess that we cannot understand their panic. Where could one be better off than at Saint Pierre? When the blast struck Saint Pierre, it produced all of the effects that a West Indian hurricane would if the temperature of, say, 250 degrees Fahrenheit and was sweeping along with great quantities of fine sand and small stones, which were even hotter than the blast that carried them in the winds of perhaps 180 miles per hour. I have never experienced anything more trying to the nerves than this prowling through the scient empty houses, expecting every moment to come in the semi-darkness upon the ghastly ash-plastered bodies of dead men and women. If they had looked like other corpses, they would not have made such an impression upon my imagination, but these gray, dust-covered figures were suggestions of some mysterious, frightful end, worse than death by sickness, by accident, or even by murder. In the lower story of one house where we had not found any dead, Mr. Clark, our guide, suddenly stopped, listened with strained attention for an instant, and then cried in a hoarse voice, "Hark, what's that? There's something walking overhead." A cold creeping sensation seemed to go down my spine as imagination suggested to me the picture of one of those gray figures with swollen, blackened face, ash-plastered eye sockets, feeling its way slowly downstairs. It was impossible, and I knew that it was impossible, but the very idea seemed to chill my blood. Tired, faint, and sickened with the stench of dead bodies, we finally turned our faces homeward, climbed slowly up the valley over the stone piles of wrecked houses, and rode back to Vive. When I went to bed that night, I found it utterly impossible to sleep. The atmosphere of the room seemed to be pervaded by a faint corpse-like odor, and I imagined that I could see gray, ash-plastered figure with flies crawling over it in every dark corner of the room. Satisfied at last that the odor of death could not be wholly imaginary, I got up, struck a light, and began to examine in turn the things that I had brought back. A little etched calabash that I had picked up in one of the houses of the village of Trempoix proved to be so saturated with the odor of a rotting corpse that it had tainted the air of the whole room. I put it out of the window on the roof of the piazza, extinguished my light, and again went to bed. But I had a restless, feverish night and began for the first time to regard that infernal volcano with a feeling of dread.
Mahalo, Dick. Vivid historical writing, and as Vicky said, lots of research. So we're now in Peter's later career, and we're going to segue to the World-Class Asparagus. Huh? So World-Class Asparagus was a play that Peter wrote in 1990 and then decided to rewrite. And this shows off Peter's modernity, if I could use that word, modernity. He played with a lot of things. He was a master of the stagecraft, right? So in this setting, Peter decided that the earlier play worked well in this time of Trump. So it's located in Waikiki in this massive hotel. Things happen on the stage that are extraordinary that only today's technicians can do, like exploding artworks. He had a lawyer speak out of character and speak to the audience. He took care of giving details about costumes. It was just unbelievable that he wore a double-breasted blazer with the Towers emblem in gold, cream-colored trousers, white silk shirt, a pinned collar, tie matches the blazer. We had never known that Peter was so into the couture of the theater as well. So we are very happy to have two readers from our hui. Jeannie Barogo is going to play Vivian Pakatong. She's a Filipino pidgin-speaking Hawaiian woman. Peter loved rich characters here. I don't mean in money, although Vivian has her eyes on money, but these characters with such nuance. By the way, she's a professional criminal. And then we have Eric Stack as Jacques Brissot, a humanistic psychiatrist. This kind of harkens to Peter's other world, doesn't it? The character's in the head of what's called an afflunaut program. Lies in affluence, yeah? Literally, he's an afflunaut. He explores new possibilities in luxury. Gold toilets must be in there somewhere. So his job is to seek out expensive products and more opulent lifestyles. There is a character that is manipulated here, who's a gazillionaire, if we can call him that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin the reading from the world-class Asparagus, the reworked play. I'll read the stage directions. We'll start with that. And by the way, Peter used a device. Two characters completely in black who shadowed the main character. There's a convention from kabuki theater called kuroko. So here's the start. Vivian hits the kuroko over the head, and they drop like a brick to the floor, unconscious. Vivian wrenches Julian's back and stuffs a gun under his chin. Aura stumbles back and is caught by Lois. The agents, undercover agents, are professionals. They know not to do anything. Anything. No reaching into pockets, no movement. The domestic staff members remain still. Aura pales, heading into shock once again. Vivian pulls Julian backward to the chair that Aura sat in to play the cello. She sits him down, keeping the pistol firmly in place. She jerks the chair and Julian around so that she can see the room clearly. And he put in a production note. Vivian took advantage of the tumult and took out of her bag a Sig Sauer P238 micro-compact handgun to get the drop on these folks. So now we have the suspenseful, world-class Asparagus.
How many times a day you put me off? I'm tired, but do I have your full attention now? Nod, because I know you're not going to, what is it called when you don't nod? Phew, wow, you're getting forgetful me.
Julian nods.
Good. Okay. I'm not dumb. I don't want this place. I want money, cash. The only problem I see is how much cash. There are parts to this problem. One, how much cash can I carry? How do I get out of here safely? How do I make sure you folks don't come after me? So maybe you'll help me out, because now, to tell the truth, I'm kind of overexcited and not thinking too good.
Miss Backtown, may I speak? How much money do you want?
I've been trying to figure that out for hours. I still not know. Not just like me, not know. I can figure most everything out pretty quick, but today I slow. That's why I asking for help.
Well, why don't we start somewhere? May I offer you a figure?
Shoot.
Brissot and the others brace when she says this word.
Oh, sorry, not shoot. Shoots mean like, go ahead, make me an offer.
$1 billion.
Ah, How big that be? How heavy that be? Could I carry that much? I'm not that big, yeah?
Arthur,
$1 million is $100 bills will fill a briefcase. It would be 22 pounds.
Oh, I could do that. That's not bad. Do you think I could do that?
yes.
But there is still one problem. You know what that problem is?
No.
I greedy.
I'm sure we can figure something out.
My mother, she once stayed one gambler. I was raised in a pool hall, Cebu, pool hall. My ma, she taught me everything I know. She stay getting old now. She getting, when you call them, when no one can think straight.
Dementia.
I want 2 million. Cash, old bills. Put them in backpack. Kidding. How to get away? The hard part.
That is the hard part.
Yeah, I don't see a way. Do you? Put them in the backpack. Hidden. Yeah. You did good with the money, by the way. Smart, you.
Do you think you could loosen up on Mr. Kessel's neck? He's having a hard time breathing.
No.
I can't think how to keep you safe.
You know, while we talk, maybe you could go ahead and put the money in the bag like that.
It's been arranged.
I like see Evelyn and Niall. Funny name, that Niall. What kind in that?
I want to be clear. You want them to come here.
Yes.
I'll send for them, Miss Pakatong. Please, let's up on his throat. He has to breathe.
Or do I?
If he dies...
That's for me to worry about. By the way, I sent my family the get lost signal. So waste time for you to go send your boys to find them.
You're most efficient.
I can't imagine what you folks plan.
We're not planning to do anything, but see to Mr. Kessel's safety.
And mine?
They're one and the same.
From the tunnel, Evelyn and Niall enter hesitantly, followed by agents. When the two grasp the situation, they stand still as they can, frightened. Julian suffers under the unforgiving grasp of Vivian. The Kuroko moans, attempts to rise, but falls back down.
Evelyn, I know like trouble, but your ex, you won't threaten my life.
Aurora regains consciousness, Lois calms her. Throughout this whole exchange, all the others on stage are waiting for an opportunity to act. Still, Vivian, despite her daffy attitude, is vigilant, and they know it.
Talk to me, Evelyn. What is this bugger up to? You talk kind of weird shit about America. America this, America that.
Niall?
Go to Aura.
Sure. Niall, what's up with her? Running on you guys.
Miss Pakatong.
Yes.
We only have $100,000 in cash.
No problem. Can mail me a check for the rest.
Sure, be glad to. We'll drop it in the mail this afternoon.
Thanks. Sit up real slow.
She holds the gun against the back of his neck and steps back. Julian's head comes forward as he does his body. He's numb with fear. His body curls, shrinking on itself. He half crosses his arms over his chest and lowers his head. His face twitches blankly. Breathing is erratic. He makes short, quick, and unpredictable movements. Not going anywhere. He certainly isn't planning any heroics.
piss your pants, Julian. Ooh, I can handle the stink. On second thought, maybe the mail isn't such a good idea. How about you, Julian? You got any ideas? No, huh? Guess not. Hey, Julian, how come you're so quiet? We got some time here. We could use one other speech. Tell me more about America. I like patriotic speeches. You know, people don't understand us career gangsters. Think we're not patriotic. Not true. We're mostly Republicans. Socialism sucks. But whoa, surprise! We got one king. We never knew him. Evelyn, Nayel, do me one favor, okay? Collect the guns. Listen, everybody. Down on the floor, on your back, with your arms spread out like one angel. Real slow. Now. Slow. Slower. That's good.
They do as she says.
Evelyn, you know anything about guns?
Yes.
Good. I know, like you hurt yourself. Nayel, how about you?
I shoot skeet.
Skeet. What is that?
Target practice with shotguns.
Oh, yeah. With the kind targets fling out up in the air. I seen that kind. You can do that? Terrific, you. So now, go get guns. Look everywhere on the body. Yeah, don't be shy. Put them over here by me.
And so we wrap up World Class Asparagus with guns and secret agents and all that kind of stuffs. Our next sharing is Peter as an actor. Peter took on the daunting task of trying to reveal the methods and madness behind the overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy. And he did that through creating the role of Lauren Thurston. Kumakahua was gracious enough to present both sides of the issue, if we can put it that way. They sponsored both the performance of Lili'uokalani at Washington Place, and I had the honor of performing Queen Lili'uokalani, and Peter as Lauren Thurston in his own words. So we have an excerpt here from that recording, a very revealing part of Hawaiian history that struck home for many of us, revealed some things we did not know about the man who was really, truly responsible for the overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy. Peter as Lauren Thurston.
And handed it to me. I hope these few tales of my life give some insight into the life of one of those damn missionary boys, without qualification. I say that we were among the most loyal of Hawaiian citizens, intensely proud of Hawaiian independence, and steadfast in its support. For years, we withstood the royal debauchery. Not until submission ceased to be a virtue did we change. And instead of using our vantage ground for personal aggrandizement, we devoted our influence to winning for Hawaii the fullest possible participation in controlling its own affairs as an integral part of the United States. Yes, but you may argue the monarchy was overthrown the agency of the American troops. Therefore, the current government is illegal. No. It was an exaggerated notion among the royalties that we could control American forces. Admittedly, we knew the royalists thought that American troops would be used to support the revolution. Still, it was not our duty to inform them that their impression was wrong. As it happened, American troops did provide support, but we were not responsible for their actions. It was purely a private matter between the United States government and its military officers. Now, we depended entirely on our own strength, having no idea what the United States would do. In 1892, I went to see a Representative Blunt, who was chairman of the Committee of Foreign Affairs. He sent me to the Secretary of State, who in turn put me in touch with the Secretary of Navy, who in turn saw the president on my behalf. The Navy Secretary then said to me, I have explained fully to the president what you have said to me, and have this to say to you. The president does not think he should see you, but he authorizes me to say to you that if conditions in Hawaii compel you people to act as you have indicated, and you come to Washington with an annexation proposition, you will find an exceedingly sympathetic administration here. That's all I wanted to know. Liliuokalani was not the only recalcitrant queen I was engaged in overthrowing. There was another revolution. I was also determined to domesticate that most renowned occupant of volcano, Kilauea volcano, Pele. This lady has proved to be the most difficult opponent. The danger she posed for the growing towns and plantations required action. I purchased this volcano house in the early 1890s. It occurred to me that a professional observer what was needed and a full-time volcanologist. In 1912, Dr. Thomas Jagger, professor of geology from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, became our scientific director. We built and equipped an observatory and secured this whole area as a national park. Together, we set out to discover a means to bring safety to the island. How might we usurp the tyranny of Pele? How might we thwart the danger of lava flows?
Aloha kako. So in 2020, the world shut down due to COVID, and a small group of theater artists decided to gather together online to read plays aloud together, unfettered by geography. This quickly became a playwrights hui, where writers of all skill levels could gather and share their work, nurtured by theater professionals and educators. Peter was one of our most beloved and vociferous members. After each reading, we usually had a vigorous and fruitful discussion that ranged freely across topics inspired by the play and by current events. In October 2021, our discussion meandered to the subject of Renshi poetry, a collaborative writing practice that many of us admired. Also at this time, Peter revealed that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer and that he might not have long to live. We were stunned. At our next meeting, we read his charming play that you heard tonight was supposed to be the story of the first Molokai fish pond, but the monkfish ate the storyteller twice. It allowed us to laugh together and celebrate having Peter among us. One of our group members, Daniel Akiyama, followed up with a suggestion that we try a new experiment in playwriting, collaborative playwriting, that he dubbed Renshi playwriting. He suggested that Peter could have the first slot if he was able. The idea was pitched to the group. Everyone loved the idea, and 15 playwrights immediately jumped in on the experiment. Each playwright would contribute up to 5 pages, and each would only see the pages of the playwright immediately preceding them. Peter wrote the opening to the play. He created the two central characters and the world in which they existed. He also provided a title, Searching for Keaka, which was, this title was revealed to the group after all the writing was done, when the completed play was read aloud. It was Peter's final gift to us. And although he didn't live long enough to hear the completed work, we will hear part of it tonight. I have to say, I get all choked up when I read this stuff by Peter and, you know, what he evokes about being in the theater, because he spent so much time in there.
He gave us a playground.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Playground.
We had said the Prospero effect on that other play we read. This is his Prospero now.
And as I sent out that email, it reminds me of David Bowie's final album, when he knew. We didn't
Dark Star.
because he wasn't public about it, but he knew, and he went to a very sort of a place where earth and the ethereal meet, and I felt like that's what Peter gave us.
Yeah.
Woo, chicken skin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay, interior of UH Hilo Performing Arts Center, costume room, time to fit production date. We all know the place, even if we've never been there. We who are the denizens of theater buildings with proscenium stages, scene shops, box offices. Universities like this UH Hilo Theater have administrative offices and classrooms. All dressing rooms maintain the same methods for settling audiences to watch players perform. We don't invent how for every production churned out. Dressing rooms turn out costumes for all genres and events, and they do it in the same way. So the smells, shelves, racks, broad decks for sizing and sewing, all of these stew together and create a universal atmosphere, the dressing room. Now, it's not entirely clear why the keepers of the costume rooms share similar styles and personalities. Is it the nature of the job? Or is it the kind of person attracted to lead the way to a tightly zippered opening night? Regardless, we will obey them.
That's very funny.
A 30th professor enters the dressing room. Physics
Just started
professor
raining here.
Alvaro Zarates. Thick and rich hair, a short, dark, razor-cut beard. He dresses in warm camping clothes. The room is dimly lit, and we have no idea what time it is. A graduate student in Hawaiian ethnic studies, Halila Cynthia Lum, surprises us when she speaks up softly and stands from her sitting position.
Oh, Varo, I'm here.
Palila.
Halila is ever so sweet and attractive Hilo girl dressed for warmth as well. They are lovers and friends. They go to each other tenderly and embrace, then they stand back. Equally as apparent as their affection, both breathe a natural, unforced humility. Lights on, the dressing room is suddenly glaring. Dr. Justina Matos, played by herself, hopefully, enters and her engaging smile tunes into the tableaus she's presented.
Do I get 3 guesses?
Dr. Matos, good evening. Tonight is the night for which we have carefully prepared, liabilities waived, agreements made, our hunt for the muse of theater. Do you not remember?
This request and acceptance are a first for sure. I'm here with your key.
She walks forward and hands over the theater key.
Security?
Security is on alert. I have instant contact through the walkie-talkie.
No electricity. Sorry. No electricity. No touching props, scenery, whatever.
I would not want to die by the hand of the distinguished hand of Ariana.
Despite our reluctance, we are all most intrigued by your project and look forward to the debriefing tomorrow. That is the day after tomorrow.
We've worked for over a month now, detailing how we will proceed with this evening's scientific research. You have all been most generous and understanding, truly.
Excuse me, scientific for you?
Hard on, mystical for you.
Food, hydration, blankets, necessities.
Kalila points to the backboard or backpack.
Turn on your camp lights now. I'll turn off the theater lighting when I exit. I feel like I'm sending you on an expedition to Everest.
Another dimension than Everest.
I can't think of anybody actually in the theater to do this. I'm sure some have, but not for any other purpose than to scare the hell out of themselves. Take care. Good luck. See you the day after tomorrow.
Thank you. Good night.
Mahalo.
Dr. Matos exits, and we hear her walking back down the hallway. The theater lights turn off, and the theater doors lock shut. Halila and Alvaro click their lights on. They lift a medium-sized backpack onto a table, pulling up chairs and sitting. They've practiced. Zips ties are unzipped, and various technologies are turned on and calibrated. Then these are placed on assigned spots on their clothing.
Statement.
Turns
The time
on
is
and record.
6:43 p.m. The date. Tonight I will seek January 6, 2022. Tonight I will seek indications of a living entity that resides here in this building. My research as a physicist indicates that a single mind emerges from specific conformations of humanity. At certain junctures, it can make group decisions, guide, lead, and alter outcomes of what we think are strictly human events. This mind is not mystical, but a natural effect of groups of minds working together. Because of the storytelling purpose of a theater building will be an ideal way to identify and possibly make contact with its being. Click.
He clicks off recorder. There's a pause. As they slow their breathing, Kalila rises and pulls from her clothing a tea leaf. From her pocket, a small vial of water that she sprinkles onto the leaf. Placing the vial on the table, she extends the leaf before her. With a single move, Kalila transforms into a dancer of the hula kahiko tradition. Only at the end does she vocalize. Kalila dances silently, searching with all her senses, listening, feeling, smelling, and tasting. Then she calls out.
Auhia oe kahika.
They pick up their gear and exit. Something has changed.
Keli'i, we would love to hear anything you might want to share about your relationship and time with Peter.
My exposure to Peter was a bit of a shock. He's a character. I don't need to tell any of you that. This whole experience has been wonderful, and Peter was just a huge part of it. I think maybe my experience is probably a little different perspective than everybody else. I'm not a theater professional. Never acted, never read, never wrote. I thought when Justina invited me, I was going to be a spectator and just kind of sit back and watch everybody perform and do their thing. But of course I was wrong. This group taught me how to stretch myself, and that if your first step isn't perfect, it doesn't matter, take the next step. And Peter was a huge part of that. I learned early on in this group, through Peter and many of the others, that we didn't have to take ourselves seriously. This group was there to encourage. It was an educational experience. It was there for us to experiment. And that meant the world to me, because it could be intimidating sitting with all these talented people and listening to them speak and read and act, and like, where did they come up with that? And so be able to stick my toe in the pond, so to speak, and then have the conversations with the likes of Peter at the end of it, when we all had constructive criticism, it meant the world. And he led by example. Like, I mean, who writes stories about fish ponds? But then again, he was brilliant, and it wasn't about a fish pond. But it taught me that you could tell your story. You didn't have to worry about the story that was expected to be told. So that's what I loved about the fish pond. That's what I loved about our first Renshi experience that Peter started us off with. It wasn't until shortly before I was tasked with writing my portion of Renshi that not just Peter's loss hit me, but thinking about the other losses I experienced recently, family losses, unresolved issues, and that's what writing was about. Writing was that opportunity to express yourself. And so I really just followed Peter's lead, telling a story that was about a different story. I wanted to say goodbye to Peter, but also wanted to embrace we. I thought that was very important. And at the same time, I was able to dig down inside and maybe say goodbye to some people that I realized I had not said goodbye to. So Renchi 1 was my first writing experience ever intended for an audience. But the fact that I could do that with a group where failure wasn't an option because I couldn't let the group down, but failure wasn't an option because I wasn't afraid of criticism. We were all there to help each other. And it was, I mean, we sat there for hours each night. We would write by ourselves, but none of us were alone when we were writing. And that just came through to me from the conversations we'd had. And that Peter was such a big part of it. He taught me, never sitting in a classroom with him, but he taught me that writing could be therapeutic. It could be academic, but it didn't have to be. It could have a historic context that was critical to what was going on. And it could be completely fictional. So in that sense, it just allowed me to explore. And again, everybody that's on this Hui tonight on this Zoom has been a huge part of that. But Peter was a leader, and Peter taught me directly that that's right. That's right. So I thank Peter for opening that door, and to all of you for pushing me through it. Wow.
Oh, Keli, how could you say you're not a theater person? You've earned your stripes with that eloquence about what we all go through every week. On behalf of Keakalehua and Kumukuhua Theater, I want to say mahalo to Darcy Bevins for being here, Peter's wife. Darcy, do you have any closing words?
Of course. I thoroughly enjoyed the program, and thank you all for your excellent work. It was so wonderful for me to relive so many of Peter's performances and hear your insights, your facets of Peter. It was really great. And Peter loved theater. He just absolutely loved playwriting and acting, drama workshops, and the Hui, of course. And he lived a full life, 75 years, and did everything he wanted, loved every minute of it. Well, not every minute of it. He had no regrets. He had no regrets. He died at home, peacefully and happy. This is his birthday. This is his birthday. 1 year ago today, we were in the doctor's office and learning for the first time about stage 4 pancreatic cancer. When we stepped out of the office, Peter said to me, you know, I don't want to do chemotherapy. Instead, let's go to Lanai. Let's splurge. Let's blow some money and stay in the hotel right on the beach and have a second honeymoon, just the two of us. And that's what we did. So Peter. Then we came back to Volcano Village, and Nicklin flew home from the mainland to be with us so that we could say our final goodbyes, laugh at the good times, remember the fond times, and cry. And so, yeah, he lived quite the life. He got to live a full life, and I miss him very much. But who I'm grieving for right now isn't Peter. It's Manny Carvalho. Because as you folks all know, a month ago, Manny died in a tragic accident at the Boy Scout camp. And Manny didn't get to live to be 75. He didn't even get to live to be a teenager. He was 11 or 12, and he had a wonderful life. There's no better parents than David and Michelle Carvalho, whom I've known for over 20 years. But Manny didn't get to say goodbye to anybody. He didn't have 6 weeks to say goodbye the way me and Peter and Nicklin did. So my message to you guys is treasure your loved ones, because you never know when you might lose them to disease or to an accident. It's fun to remember all of Peter's legacy and his great impact on all of us. But think about who you've got and enjoy every moment you have with them, because you never know. Aloha.
Mahalo nui, Darcy. All of the Big Island mourns with you and grieves with you about Manny too. We celebrate Peter and we'll have the opportunity to see his works that live on, and we send our aloha to the Cavalios. So mahalo, Veronica, a deep bow to Kumakahua and their wizard of technology. And this was for all of us, right? Huh? Kia kalehua? So ahui ho, we have a little bit more of a ninja throwing a slipper and a fabulous photograph of Peter at the Lanai beach that Darcy mentioned. So malama ka koapau, ai ahui ho.
Some of the more advanced techniques are double flipper. Folks, remember, you do this through training. You don't try it at home. It's extremely dangerous. So, thank you for this opportunity to show you my martial arts. Thank you.